Department of Commerce contributes a lot to our country's economic system. Their mission is to promote economic growth. They provide American companies tools through programs such as the Decennial Census, the National Weather Service, NOAA Fisheries, and the Foreign Commercial Service. They gather economic and demographic data to check the economy, promote U.S. exports, enforce international trade agreements, regulate the export of sensitive goods and technologies, and issue patents and trademarks. In addition to contributing to the country's economic success, the Department of Commerce also oversees the scientific data that helps forecast the weather and measure the health of the world's oceans. This department was originally created as the U.S. Department of Commerce and Labor on February 14, 1903. The department was created under President Theodore Roosevelt. He wanted a department that could investigate corporate earnings and protect people in the workplace. Roosevelt nominated his personal secretary, George B. Cortelyou, to be the first secretary. On his last day of office, March 4, 1913, President William Taft split the department, sending the Bureau specializing in labor to the Department of Labor and leaving the new Department of Commerce. On March 5, 1913, President Woodrow Wilson appointed William C. Redfield as the first Secretary of Commerce. Over the years, the department grew and contributed to America in very useful ways. The Department of Commerce's headquarters is the Herbert C. Hoover Building in Washington, D.C., U.S. Their jurisdiction is the United States. The Department of Commerce's Secretary of Commerce is the 10th in the presidential succession. Currently, the Secretary of Commerce is Wilbur Ross. The Department of Commerce belongs to the Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation. This committee has legislative jurisdiction on matters relating to science and technology, oceans policy, transportation, communications, and consumer affairs. Some famous leaders in the department's history are Herbert C. Hoover, who is the longest-serving Secretary of Commerce, Juanita Krebs, the first woman Secretary of Commerce, Barbara Franklin, the second woman Secretary of Commerce, and she was also among the first women to graduate Harvard Business School. Ronald Brown was the first African American Secretary of Commerce. The current key leaders of the Department of Commerce are Wilbur Ross, who is the Secretary of Commerce, Karen Dunn Kelly, who is the Deputy Secretary of Commerce, Michael J. Walsh Jr., who is the Chief of Staff, Thomas Gilman, the Chief Financial Officer, Dr. Brian C. Moyer, the Director of the Bureau of Economic Analysis, Dr. Stephen Dillingham, the Census Bureau Director, Dr. John C. Fleming, the U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Economic Development, Henry Childs II, Minority Business Development Agency National Director, Dr. Walter Copen, who's the Undersecretary for Standards and Technology and NIST Director, Dr. Neil Jacobs, Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Environmental Observation and Prediction, performing the duties of Undersecretary of Commerce for Oceans and Atmosphere, Abby Bender, the National Technical Information Service Director, and Doug Kinkoff, Associate Administrator of the Office of Telecommunications and Information Applications, performing the non-exclusive functions and duties of the Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Communications and Information.